This is the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you learn to be resourceful, find quick and clever ways to overcome life's challenges. And guess what? Achieve more with less. Use what you have to get where you're trying to go. Learn to do difficult. And for excuses, get rid of them. I mean, all of them. They're dead to me. Let's go. Did you know that you could impact my podcast by liking, subscribe, reviewing, and sharing? And also donating? You would totally make my day. Come on, make my dreams come true. Happy New Year! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's a new year, new you, new hairdo. No, okay. New pocketbook, new goals, nothing. I asked somebody the other day, I'm like, hey, Happy New Year. What's your goals for the new year? None. And I realized I didn't know what else to say. I was like, well, why don't you have any goals? And I didn't want to say it in a bad way because I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think you need focal points. I think it's more about being inspired and understanding that having direction, where you would like to go is where you actually want to end up a year from now and 2 years from now, as much as you possibly can control. And she just mentioned that it never worked for her. And I think I have to ask, is it the goals or is it the way we pursue the goals? Because a lot of times I think, and then whose goals are they? So a lot of times I think that we have goals that are not necessarily our own, someone put it on us or we saw it somewhere. It's like a shiny new object. You buy it, you bring it home, you own it, but it really is just taking up space in your mind, your heart, and in your life. And the truth is you really just need to get rid of it. And I also think that we should all have goals. Perhaps goals or resolutions isn't the right word. I really think I would like to refer to it as thinking of a destination and you're just planning to go there. Sometimes you can get to that destination in a year. Sometimes you can get there in a month. You're like, oh, okay, I need a new destination. Other times it takes a couple years because as you decide to go there, there's some hiccups, there's things that happen. And so the idea is that you're not giving up on that. I know people say to have big audacious goals, and then there's people that say to have realistic goals. I tend to think if you're consistent, that time becomes irrelevant because you'll take the big sprints and big leaps that you need to take when you need them. And then you'll be willing to be methodical and patient and baby step it. So goals are totally not this episode, but that was a little tangent. I'm actually going to talk about a case against social media. So this is not to bring you like a Debbie Downer and preach to you and tell you what to do, but I do want to share some things that might be affecting you, your goals, and where you are in your life without you actually knowing it. So long story short, I totally think I'm mispronouncing words already. Totally think that social media for me is not for me. I've done it all. I've heard it all. I've been to the seminars, the webinars, the courses. I've listened, and I understand that there's a risk to not being on there. And the true risk is that it hurts your business. You have to figure out ways around it. And the other thing is, if you really want to keep in contact with family, there's so many other ways that you can keep in contact with family. That's just to throw that out there. That's not to say that your reason is invalid. That's not what I'm saying. I'm strictly sharing my social media policy for myself, not actually even for my family, because we have different views. And you can be in a family and have different views about something, or different angles, or different ways that you would implement something in your life. And that's freedom and autonomy. Figure out what it looks like for you and stick to that. So for me, 8 years ago or 9, I really lost track of time. So maybe it's 9 and a half, something like that. And don't quote me like exactly on the time frame, but it's definitely been more than 8 years. Because I know sometimes people are like, Mila said this in another episode. Dude, it's been a while. Okay, it's long enough. So I got off social media. I got off for myself for a lot of reasons. And when COVID hit, I got back on social media for maybe 5 months. And I noticed a huge, huge difference in just a lot of things. This is a totally different episode. And I will go into that. But it's not about me this episode. I'm just sharing my view on that. And so with that in mind, right when I was getting off, for my 5 month stint, when I was going into social media rehab, I saw the movie Social Dilemma. And so I thought it was interesting. The Social Dilemma movie is on Netflix if you have not seen it. And it's kind of sponsored by Center for Humane Tech. So the short version is this guy was working at Google, and he was saying that we should have, just not kind of make email so addictive. I think this is his premise, but there was a project he was working on, and he was just saying that these little mechanisms that we are deciding to implement into, email or whatever project he was working on actually create more habits and addiction for human behavior. These are my words, not his. I'm just trying to give you a synopsis. So then he has on his website, I forgot his name, that in true Mila fashion, I forgot his name. Just go to humanetech.com. But I'm just going to read some things. This is not going to be one episode. I just want you to know this is probably going to be a series as I continue to unpack this because it's a loaded thing. But I do want you to think about how social media affects you, your goals, your life, your roles, how you want to show up in real life, in the real world, because it does. And when I quit, it was a theory. I think this is affecting me and no one's talking about it. And now it's common knowledge. And I think sometimes when it's common knowledge, we're always learning, but never really coming fully to what the true purpose of something is. Whether or not you should be on social media is your decision. But I'm going to give you a case to rethink it. Okay. Under immense pressure to prioritize engagement and growth, technology. So this is from Humane Tech, and it's under Ledger of Harms. And this was updated October 11, 2020. It's called the beta version. Beta version. That just felt appropriate. Okay. Under immense pressure to prioritize engagement and growth, technology platforms have created a race for human attention that's unleashed invisible harms to society. Here are some of the costs that aren't showing up on their balance sheet. So here's what I want to talk about for a second. You have a goal. You're like, I really want to accomplish this goal. Or you have a destination you want to get to. You're super inspired. But there is something that is making it super addictive to be distracted. Okay. So you have to know that that's out there. It's almost like, I tell my kids that social media is like an endless buffet. You sit down at your table and all your favorite foods, not your healthy foods, unless all your favorite foods are healthy. But most of us have some healthy favorite foods and some unhealthy. But all your favorite foods are at the table. As soon as you take a bite, it's replenished. It would be really hard to get up from the table, I would think. Very hard. Okay. So we hope these factoids, each supported by a citation, helps advance your work. Please share with others who might also find them useful. So social media makes it hard to making sense of the world. Misinformation, conspiracy theories, and fake news. Why it matters. A broken information ecology undermines our ability to understand and act on complex global challenges from climate change to COVID. So they give evidence. I'm just going to give you a synopsis because this is a short bite-sized episode. I tend to think we do things better when we can take time to process it. Attention and cognition. Loss of crucial abilities, including memory and focus. I set some goals. I don't even remember my goals. That sounds familiar. Technology's constant interruptions and precisely targeted distractions are taking a toll on our ability to think, to focus, to solve problems, and to be present with each other. Physical and mental health. Stress, loneliness, feelings of addiction, and increased risky health behavior. As technology increasingly pervades our waking lives, research is showing a wide range of effects on our happiness, our self-image, and our mental health. One of the girls, I don't know what her name is, but she used to be on Full House, I think, and she posted a picture of her family. Whether you like the picture or not, is I don't really have any thoughts about the picture, but it was just like people said some of the meanest things about the family photo. I'm like, I never knew people could be so upset about a family photo. I don't know. A lot of things if I don't know you, I'm not saying I don't care about you, but your relevance on my actual like deep opinions, like I just don't believe I could be hateful to you if I don't actually know you. That's me. Unless like, there's something I know that you've done like that is just ridiculously, cruel or something. Maybe. I don't know. So that was perplexing to me. It was like, this is the lady's family photo. And just, it's whatever they want to do for their family photo. You don't actually know them. Social relationships, less empathy, more confusion, and misinterpretation. While social networks claim to connect us, all too often, they distract us from connecting with those directly in front of us, leaving many feeling both connected and socially isolated. Interesting. Politics and elections, propaganda, distorted dialogue, and a disrupted democratic process. Social media platforms are incentivized to amplify the most engaging content, tilting public attention towards polarizing and often misleading content. By selling micro-targeting to the highest bidder, they enable manipulative practices that undermine democracies around the world. Basically, that means that a lot of things that you see on social media, they might not even be like just an opinion and just finding you organically. Like a tumbleweed rolling down the street and it just lands right in front of you on your walk. No, someone's paying for you to see it, and they selected you based on some things that they know about you, and they make sure that it's going to be super engaging to you. And when they find out it is, they pay more to make sure you see it again. So it's a systemic oppression, amplification of racism, sexism, homophobia, and ableism. I'm not really sure what ableism is. Technology integrates and often amplifies racism, sexism, ableism, and homophobia, creating an attention economy that works against marginalized communities. I think, so the next generations, from developmental delays to suicide, children face a host of physical, mental, and social challenges. Due unto others, many people who work for tech companies and even the CEOs limit tech usage in their own homes. Many tech leaders don't allow their own children to use the products they build, which implies they're keenly aware that the products from which they make so much money from pose risk, especially for young users. Okay, so I want you to think about this regarding your goals, your beliefs, what you gravitate towards. Like even for me sometimes, so I realized I naturally before COVID would gravitate towards an online book, an audible book or audio of that book, and journaling. Those are things that I gravitated to, and walking. And then when COVID hit, slowly my gravitation went from that to like looking at news sources for 15 minutes. But at first it would just be like 5 minutes at night where I kind of just make sure I knew what was going on, and maybe every couple days. And now it turned into like, okay, I check in the morning, once I've gotten my morning routine out the way, and then I check at night. And it's like, it really hasn't changed, but I've noticed that my thinking has changed. It's become a little bit more negative, and then I'm trying to figure it out and sorting through all these things. And it's like, at the end of the day, some things want to be tangled. Some things want to be confusing. Some things want to derail you. Some things want you to be hateful. And you really have to be careful about what you're feeding yourself, because those things will also be the things that you use to propel yourself forward. You will pack them in the bag when you decide your next location, your next goal. So in terms of social media, should you stay on it or should you not? It's really your personal decision. But I really want to give you more information throughout this series to really think about how it's affecting you, your roles, being present, and really think about the place you want to have it. So for me, when I was on it for 5 months, I actually would set a timer. I had a goal, set a timer, and then I would get off. Even if the goal was like, hey, I want to see how X, Y, and Z are doing, I would set a timer and really process how long that would take me. And I would probably be on it once or twice a week. And even then, I felt an effect. And that sounds really silly, but it also lets you know how strong of a pull social media has. So whether or not you want to admit it, it affects you. Now, how you want to navigate that, or what spectrum you want to be on, or what parameters you want to play. I think that's a personal decision. I think first you have to discover how it affects you. And I have seen there are some common effects, pillars, and then it affects everyone differently. So I think it's important to figure that out. If you have a weakness in a certain area, then you might want to make sure that you are not exposing that vulnerability and making it weaker by enabling yourself to kind of constantly put that out on social media in a way that's not healthy for you. Okay, so the question I want to ask you is, have you observed your behavior on social media? How often you're on it? What do you do? Why do you do it? When you plan to go on there, do you do what you say you're going to do and you totally do something else? Do you lose time? I think it's just a time to observe, because really, I'm telling you my experience and I'm telling you what research is saying, or just some philosophical views and theories now. But really, you have to filter that and see, what does that look like for your life? And I think the key for that is observation. And the observation, you'll be able to figure out. So if you have kids, are they on social media? How does that affect them? Really just start to think about these things, and also think about what you feel like you need, what you have to, you got to do on there. Because we can delve into that. Like, is that rewiring? Is that really true? And some of those things will be true, So that is all for this show. I hope this year is full of all the great things, 2021. I'm going to be honest right now. I'm in a slump. I'm really trying to talk myself out of it. And it's not like that New Year's slump where you set all these goals. I really haven't even ironed mine down. So I really have to be transparent here. I'm kind of working through that. Just really, 2020 was a super different year. And I really want to make sure my core is good. So I'm taking a little bit longer. I probably will have something sorted, in the next week or two. And usually I have it all figured out, and it's okay. I don't. So if you don't have it all figured out, that's totally fine. You can join me the next month. Hopefully we have it figured out by the next month. But the truth is, I think it's more important to figure it out and stick to it than how long it takes you. So I'm in the figuring out stage, just really nailing down what's really important and getting down to those core values and making sure my life is really still based upon that. That's super important to me, especially during this time where you can easily get derailed and there's so many things tugging on your heart and your mind, and it's really important that you are able to really dig deep and grow those things and not end up somewhere from your own doing that you didn't expect. All right, that's all. Happy New Year. This episode is sponsored by howtohomeschoolfromtheheart.com. Cultivate a learning environment you'll love. Are you ready for the free PDF to help you get your sanity back? Go to howtohomeschoolfromtheheart.com. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Seriously, the episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening too. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.